What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another chance encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. Power lines that are just kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg. I'm joined today with Christine Shu. How are you doing today?
I am doing really well. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. And for those of you in the audience, thank you for joining us today. If you haven't seen a chance encounter before, this is how it works. I interview a commercial real estate investor, and then I go through the 5 different motivations that I've basically reduced their thoughts as far as why they're getting their next commercial real estate deal and saying which one of them's you. And then I pull out my Dan Does Deal die, and there should be a link somewhere to download your own template of this so you can print it out and explain it to your friends and family. But I go through the 6 different roles in a commercial real estate deal, and I say which one's your core competency, and then we find out what's your ideal property. It's a very, very efficient way to use your time and do some networking without the pains of actually networking. But Christine, can you please introduce yourself to the audience for everybody, please?
Yeah, of course. My name is Christine Shu, and I am based out of Westchester, New York, which is about an hour north of New York City. Um, am a mom of 2 little boys, 4.5 and almost 3, and I'm married to my wonderful husband, who is a film producer. And yeah, so I am a full-time mom and a part-time real estate investor.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. So let's do the motivation part. I like to start off with the motivation part because if I've got a beginner on the show, they know why they want to be in commercial real estate, but maybe they don't know what role they're going to be in. So that's why I like to go through that and make sure that everybody has that all crystal clear. So, why do you want part of an apartment complex? I really mean commercial deal. It doesn't have to be an apartment complex, but the first motivation I found is that some people need to preserve their purchasing power. So, if you rely on your wealth and the cash flow that comes from it in order to make ends meet, your biggest concern is you have to keep on making acquisitions to stave off the effects of inflation on that income that you're getting from that wealth. So if that's the case, you are looking to stave off inflation. You're looking to preserve your purchasing power. That's the first motivation. The second one is the one that I have, and I've got this background in e-commerce technology, mass marketing, all this selling online, the lead capture and segmentation. That's my background, and that's a high paying position, but at the end of the day, if you're relying on salary or wages or something like that, you are paying the most expensive type of tax. And so if you think about it, you might make the same decision that I did, which is like, hey, if I just pivot and then I get into things where I'm getting paid for my effort and time in the form of equity, aka wealth, then I'm skipping that step and I'm able to make a crack at whatever it is like retirement or whatever wealth goals you have much more efficiently. So that's what I'm up to. The next reason why people want a commercial deal is they're looking to fast track their retirement. If you're too young, then if you're just fresh out of college and you say, oh, I'm fast tracking my retirement, it's like, well, that's a bit of a stretch. But the bigger thing about why I mentioned fast tracking retirement is it implies that one day you're not going to really want to be involved. Maybe you want to move somewhere with a very low cost of living. And if that's the case, being an accredited investor is plenty. So that's the next reason that some people want to get their next commercial deal. The next one is for the super ambitious people. They want to buy their entire hometown. They want to have the biggest yacht in the pier. They want a skyscraper with their name on it. That generational wealth, whatever that is. That's what this type of person on the GP team would be looking for, and they're great because they're going to keep on hustling forever and ever, which is also similar to the last motivation as far as that they're not just going to quit and take it easy. Some people have a sector of society, or perhaps it's the environment or animals or something like that, that they really want to have a huge impact in helping, but they probably realize that accumulating wealth is by far the most effective way to make a difference in society. If you got those dollars and cents, then you can help out any cause that you want. So those are the 5 different motivations. So Christine, for you, like what combination of those, or what really jumps out to describe you?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely trading time for wealth. I spent about 12 to 13 years in corporate America, and it just, wasn't the right fit for me. I had to go to work every day at 8 o'clock, clock out at like 5 or 6, some days even more, and not get paid for overtime. So it's like you're required to go into work every day and, make money and profits for a company or for someone else. And you just get paid a salary no matter how hard you worked or how little you worked. You just had your salary. And it just got tiring after a while. After I had kids, especially, I think my priorities changed. Like I was so focused on being ambitious and climbing that corporate ladder and, making it up to whatever director, VP position, all of that. I never made it there, which thank God I didn't, because I feel like it's harder to pull away from that world when you get up that high. But yeah, I think my priorities just changed. I said, my kids are at home and I'm not there with them. I'm hiring someone else to take care of them. So I want to be the one who's there to take care of them and watch them grow up and just, be present in their life, especially when they're young. So for a few years, I was like, how can I do it? Like, what other job is there? Or, what can I do that allows me to make an income for my family, for myself, but still have time? And that's kind of where I came across real estate investing. You have the freedom to put your money to work for you as opposed to working hard for the money. And, that frees up that time to really spend with my loved ones, to do the things that I want to do and really achieve, higher level goals, as opposed to sitting in traffic and going to work every day and, even just dealing with difficult managers. So yeah, it's definitely freeing. And then that in combination with bringing impact is huge. So us at Nobly Vest, which is our company, I have a business partner, Margaret, and we make up this company, Nobly Vest. Really, our tagline is, we want to invest nobly to make impactful returns. And the returns, the impactful returns is very much like 360. It's not just for us, as the active investors, but it's also for our limited partner investors who are passive investors for their families. Maybe they're in that same place where they're so busy making the money for their family that they don't have the time to spend with their kids, with their families, their loved ones, their parents. It's really putting their money to work for them too, so that they can have options, and then also impact to the communities that we invest in. So to the tenants, to the communities, bringing change and bringing improvement so that we can provide safe, comfortable, and just, beautiful housing that's affordable to people. And especially in this market, it's just so hard to afford really anything. So it's really providing housing, which is a very basic need to really all human beings, is having a roof over their head. And then, the other dimension is, bringing employment to people. So our contractors, our property managers, we're giving them jobs so that they can provide for their families as well. So it's multidimensional in terms of impact.
I really love that, especially like, you were talking about corporate America. I can definitely relate to that. And one of the things that comes out in real estate, but also colors my decision to leave corporate America to branch out for myself and get on these GP teams. It's I'm not willing to rob Peter to pay Paul. And I
Right.
think that a lot of people, their ethics is like, well, that's okay because, like I don't like Peter, and that's not a good enough reason for me, right? And
Right.
the problem I found, and why I think this industry is really attractive to people with impeccable ethics, It's because like even when you are an employee, there's pressure not to do your job effectively. You know, it's like, oh man, now I have to do my job because you're just out there doing your work. You know, like if you've ever run into that situation, it's really it's tragic as far as I'm concerned. So I always like to see people who have some other, you know, like have that same impact. And being an entrepreneur, you know, it's difficult to be ethical as an entrepreneur, but I think it's almost impossible to be totally ethical as an employee. It's really, really tough because you have to, you know, worry about your own boundaries and blah, 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 blah. But let's move on to the next segment. For those of you in the audience who've never seen a chance encounter before, I always go through the 6 different roles in a commercial real estate deal so that everybody's on the page here. So let's start by talking about what's a repositioner. A repositioner is a person who looks at a whole whack of different properties and they underwrite the properties, which means they do the math to figure out if the building makes sense or not. But the other thing that a repositioner has to know is the ways to get upside, because that's really what they're up to, is they're building their portfolio and making more money off of that property than there was previously. So what are the tricks that the repositioner has to find that upside? The first one is more efficient operations, less money going down the toilet. And of course, keeping track of the money is a very important part of operations. So is the marketing, which is also known as being a leasing agent. So you end up making sure that the vacancy rate is low. Marketing is one of my things, which is why I bring it up. So if you have more efficient operations, then the property will end up making more money. Right now, as Christine mentioned, you know, the market right now is unbelievably hot. So that's probably not going to cut it on its own. Very often there's a value add, a heavy lift, you know, somewhat an improvement that needs to be done by a contractor. You get a contractor team, you make the units nicer, and then that way you can charge more in rent, and boom, you've got upside. So everything sounds really great as a repositioner in this situation, but if you're from the internet like me, you're going to need a local. You're going to need boots on the ground. You're going to need somebody who can be there in about an hour to take care of the place, make sure that operations aren't fudging the numbers or cutting corners, making sure that the contractors are actually getting all their stuff done in a timely manner. And as a resident, that's probably who most people think of when they think of the owners of an apartment deal. But of course, the banks, the financiers, the capital raisers, they all have to be involved as well, because, you know, that's the idea, is you keep on making these acquisitions, and that's how you can say, I am in real estate. So you turn around to the financier, say, hey, I got this apartment complex, it's worth tens of millions of dollars. Hey, can you lend me tens of millions of dollars? And the thing that they're going to be looking for that might not be so obvious in a lot of coaching programs is that you need a sponsor if you want to get a loan. Okay, so if Elon Musk wants to buy a 350 unit apartment complex and he wants to get a loan, he has to have an insider, in other words, a sponsor, somebody who already owns a similar asset, already owns a 350 unit apartment complex. There are a couple other restrictions as well, which is that the KP slash sponsor will probably have to come up with some liquidity, some cash on hand to make sure that they actually have it. And then the other thing is you need a balance sheet of at least the value of the loan. But those are the 6 roles in a commercial deal. So Christine, what are your core competencies that you'd be most likely to contribute in your next commercial deal?
Yeah, well, I have to say that it's surprising. I'm actually not great at math. So
This isn't the first time I've run into an Asian with that affliction, or someone who visibly looks Asian with that. It was very interesting in Taiwan, you know, the looks I got when, you know, I give up change to count up to the next 50, and they'd look at me. It's like, no, no, this is more money than you just, I don't know, just punch it into the thing. It's like, oh, and then like watching the shock, I was like, how is this white guy's math so good? I don't get it. It was amazing, and you only get to talk about that when you're talking about on the other side of the world. So
right, yeah, and I'm sure your math is way better than mine. Uh, so
thanks.
I think in terms of being the underwriter or repositioner, that's probably really not the best role for me, but I do have partners and friends who are very good at that, and I lean on them for that. Living in New York, I don't invest in New York. It is probably not a great state to invest in um, for many, many reasons. So can't really be boots on the ground either. Hopefully that changes in the near future. We'll see. I I would say like I'm not great at being handy either. Although after this, I'm supposed to be patching walls in my rental unit next door, but not great at it. So not going to be doing that. I would say that I'm probably more along of the financier and raising capital to start. So, that's something that I personally do like to move money around. It's something that's fun because, as you're moving things around, you see things come into fruition. And a lot of times, if you're doing it right, you get your money back and then some.
Mhm.
So in terms of raising capital, it's sharing that with other people, giving them the ability to kind of move their money around and invest in places that allows them to grow and multiply their wealth. So that's where my role is currently.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And so one of my favorite parts about commercial real estate in general is just that because nobody is all the faces of the die
Mhm.
ever, there are people who have to understand the entire die, especially if they're remote based.
Right.
And so like I totally buy that you have that a lot of people understand all the sides and can do like a at least a B job of any of them. But as far as who you can help personally, now don't break any SEC restrictions, which means you can't be enticing investors. But other than that, who can you help in real estate more than anybody else? Like, is it a beginner? Is it an operator? Is it somebody who's outside of it, or can you describe the person as
Yeah, so on the active side, I would love to help people who share the same values as I do in terms of bringing impact, because I think commercial real estate is very much a team sport. And so, being the financier, that's kind of my role. I hope to kind of bring that as a value to the deals and to the deal teams. And on the flip side, my investor avatar, the people that I hope to help from the passive side are also people like me, people who work really hard in their day jobs and their W-2 jobs to make a living for their families and really want to free up some time. And they're thinking about the future for themselves and their families. How are they going to, support a lifestyle and maybe work a little bit less so that they could spend more time with their families? So that's kind of where those are the people that I'm really hoping to help.
Awesome. I love that, especially because, like with the recent inflation and that sort of stuff. It's there's just been this one liner that I've been loving to say, which is like because, like I decided in tech, like to go into tech because it's, a high paying position, all that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, like if inflation rears its ugly head, I wanted to live a life where I didn't really have to understand finances thoroughly, but like it's just come to the point where you can either learn to play the game or you can lose the game. It's like those are the only two options. And
Yeah.
and people really have to put in a lot of effort in order to like keep your feet like one foot in each side. It's really is brutal. But
Yeah.
the next thing I have is what's the best way to reach out to you, Christine? Is it like we met through LinkedIn, through Yona's new contest, his new not contest, his challenge. But
Yes.
is LinkedIn the best way to reach you? You also have your email on your
Yes.
screen there, or what's the best way to reach out to you? Is there a site or
So
something?
right, there's many ways to reach out to me. So my email is here on the bottom of the screen. You can find me on LinkedIn, look up Christine Shu. Also, we have our website here, noblevest.com. You can find more about us and what we do at Nobly Vest. And also we're on Facebook, Instagram, and we have our Nobly Vest page on LinkedIn as well. So lots of different options to find me.
Awesome, awesome. So that's how you can find her and help her. And if you want to help me, there's something you can do. Is there's a red button of anger that is under my left hand, and if you want to turn it into the gray button of tranquility, all you need to do is click on it, and then the red button goes away. And the beautiful thing about when you do that is one, it costs you nothing, and two, it means that YouTube pays for these videos instead of me. So you'd be doing me an enormous favor by just clicking the button. It means that my videos might end up on your list of suggestions, and there's no guarantee of that either. But please do that. And you've done me a huge favor, just like Christine, you've done me a huge favor by coming and joining me today. This has been fantastic getting to know you.
It's my pleasure. Really great to know you too. Thank you for having me on your show.
Awesome. Thanks.